Good afternoon and welcome to the problem with being awake. My name's Ben and I want to talk about the use of the word information and why it doesn't need a bloody pronoun for it. There's been too much of it floating about in the last 5 years particularly. And I'm going to focus on the US government, the Democrats, the Trump campaign and how that all worked because you never heard the word information on its own. Now, information doesn't necessarily mean fact. I could tell you I'm feeling a certain way, a certain day. That doesn't mean and I could say, oh, it may be linked to PTSD, which I've had for more than 20 years. I could say that. That doesn't make it a fact. So it's not all information is fact. There are different. Facts are unalterable facts. Anyone who says a fact that is wrong is guilty of saying misinformation if they don't know that it's wrong. Okay, so let's go through the categories of information, and you can call them, I've used the word pronouns a bit naughtily here because you call them prefixes as well, depending on how they're spelt. But you have misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Now, I'm going to focus on the third one a lot, but let's just go through the first one, misinformation. That is when somebody spreads information, which is simply, anything, a book contains information that doesn't make it factually accurate. It can be interpreted by the author, and that information is still valid information. And then you run it through a few tests to see how it comes out. So misinformation is the unintended spreading of information that is wrong. So there's no malice in the word misinformation. But then we developed something called disinformation, which is where somebody uses information and then they say that it's being maliciously used against a certain party, person, idea, whatever. And the amount of disinformation out there is very much lower than you're being told. The White House has famously, for the last 4 years, Jean-Karine Pierre, with the White House press secretary, claiming everything that was being told was disinformation. Disinformation, like the border was a chaos. Disinformation. Inflation was skyrocketing. Disinformation. Now, not only is that not true, but it's often the word people try and use to get out of the truth, because in order for it to be disinformation, you'd have to say it's wrong and it's being used in a way that is designed to harm or to expose an individual or institution or a governance body. Now, how many times did the Democrats cry disinformation? Joe Biden's mental health decline, which started before he got elected. All the rumours about that, disinformation. The special counsel report, where he said he is guilty of the crimes, but he's too elderly and with a poor memory to stand trial now. And the White House said that was disinformation. But it was legally written in a document that was bound and sealed as a special counsel report. It was actual information. There was no disinformation in it. And the fact that they won't still release the tapes of that special investigation is because it shows, obviously, Biden to be far more incapacitated far earlier than anyone's willing to admit. But those of us on the conservative side who got red-pilled years ago, red-pilled means you stop actually believing the government when you start to see that these conspiracies start to come true. For example, January the 6th being a major one, there's a report about to come out, which has been finalised, which shows that it was actually concocted by the FBI, Nancy Pelosi, and some of the Democrats to entrap Trump supporters. So there were 200 FBI supporters dressed as MAGA supporters, and there were an extra 10 or so in the Capitol building dressed as MAGA supporters to guide them around. And one of the guys who broke into the building with another, one of them went to jail and is still in jail, and the other never got questioned and is still walking free. Why? Because he was an FBI agent, and his job was to get people to the Capitol to break in where there were FBI agents inside. So that is a hell of a lot of misinformation. Okay, that's also classifies as disinformation. Okay, so what they said about January the 6th is disinformation. It was untrue what they said, and because they said it repeatedly over and over again, it's disinformation because it's designed to hurt a particular candidate, in this case, President Trump. The Project 2025 hoax was disinformation. Kamala Harris knew it wasn't created by Donald Trump and he had nothing to do with it every time she said it. The Charlottesville fine people hoax, disinformation. That was actually, that's a new one, is malinformation. And that's the one I really want to focus on here, because that's where they take parts of information and they string them together to make something completely different from what it was. So it means that the words used were the words used, but in the case of the Democrats and the massive malinformation campaign against Donald Trump, they took the words out of context from different conversations and put them together. A classic is the enemy within. And they then said he'd said that about the American people. They tried to push this on the American people, when on all three occasions, if you actually hear the full soundbite, he's talking about the corrupt people in government, which have just been voted out. So the news media telling everyone Trump was Hitler, his people were Nazis. This is massive malinformation. This is information twisted, turned, never really said in the context of what it was saying, and used against and made fact by the propaganda media. So, and a great example is the fine people hoax from Charlottesville. That's what started this whole thing. And the Russian dossier from Hillary Clinton, orchestrated all by the FBI. That's been proven now. So is the Charlottesville hoax. There were very fine people on either side, and they made it out that Trump said that about white supremacist KKK type people and the people they were oppressing. He was talking about agriculture in that state to somebody else on that day. And he said there's very fine people on both sides, meaning farmers and the agriculture industry. But Joe Biden turned it into, he said that about the Charlottesville hoax. Now, anyone can debunk this, look this up, go on to AI, just type in, is it true that he said that about is the Charlottesville hoax true, or were his words taken out of context? If you type that in with almost everything Donald Trump said, his words are taken out of context. The enemy within, they played it 3 times and they made it sound more sinister than it does in the actual soundbite. And in every occasion, he was talking about the corrupt people in the Democrats who have been running the country for too long and have turned it into a progressive left nightmare for people, where, everything on the progressive left gets full attention, full importance, and the daily lives of the American people lack that kind of importance because they're not on the far left, and that was the Democrats' identity politics disaster that they created. A horrible thing to do to people, really, because now you have a country that doesn't know Trump isn't Hitler, that doesn't know he would veto every abortion ban, it doesn't know he never said there were fine people on the other side, doesn't know that he didn't write Project 25, and he didn't even know about it until someone had told him he'd written it. But yet, the government decided to take all of these sound bites, take them out of context, and put them into a new context that fitted their narrative. So narrative comes in to play here. With Donald Trump, he just took sound bites of Kamala Harris and just said, I'm Donald Trump and I support this message, because she was talking nonsense. He's not been known to talk nonsense. He can go, don't get me wrong, he can exaggerate, he can go hyperbole. The cats and the dogs. Well, the official mayor says he hasn't received any reports. That's apparently a lie. And the mayor and the head of police are under investigation for corruption. Whereas J.D. Vance, who's a senator for Ohio, which is Springfield, Ohio, was in there. The Haitians and the dogs and the cats, that was in Springfield, Ohio, J.D. Vance's state. He has multiple complaints and 2 videos of them eating household pets. So that's why the mayor is almost essentially on his way out, as is the head of police. But they're the ones who said it wasn't happening and they hadn't got any complaints. That was a lie. Now, why can we not get back to the word lying, truth and lies? Why do we have to have misinformation, which is, again, not information that you spread that you were not aware was inaccurate? You have disinformation, which is information you know is inaccurate and you spread it anyway with the design of harming a certain individual or group. And then we come to malinformation, which is where you take things out of context, reconstruct them, and deliver them as a new package, which makes a person, group, or anything sound really bad and actually invites persecution of that person, group, or said. And Donald Trump is the perfect example, because he won through all of that. And most of their campaign against him was not disinformation, it was malinformation. They took his words, they rejiggled them, they edited everything, and then they put out something he'd never said. And they've been doing that to him for 8 years. And this disinformation war has been going on for just about 10 years now. I mean, Hillary Clinton, he could have had her put in jail for what she did to him, using the FBI to secretly construct a Russian dossier to say that he was a Russian asset. When that was proven, he could have had her arrested. He didn't. And he's not going to do that this time. He's not going to arrest everybody, because that would make him look like the person that the media have portrayed him as, whereas he's not that person. And his success will be in winning. And if you're in America right now and you didn't like, and you're really upset for some reason that Donald Trump won, and you were really entangled into the far left progressive woke thing of the Democrats, that's all finishing now. So if you're woke, it is going to change. But there will be many benefits to your life, including a huge reduction in costs of living and specifically cost of gas, which is going to export all around the world, making America rich again by taking their national debt and literally tapping the largest pool of untapped oil and natural gas and rare minerals in the world. It's insane how much is that. Alaska on its own is biggest in the world, but there are other parts of America too. But this information game has to stop. It's either information, it's either fact, or it's not. There used to be this old thing, no comment. And now there's always a comment. And that comment can often be disinformation or malinformation. Nothing said from Karine Jean-Pierre. When Biden said the Charlottesville fine people hoax, he knew it was a lie. And yet Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, all of them knowing all of these things, the Project 25, the Charlottesville thing, the literally enemy from within thing, they all continued to spread the lie. That is called malinformation. It's not disinformation. It's intended to harm a particular person, and it's information that's been edited specifically to target something. Now, it could be called a pronoun or a prefix. Generally, depends on how you spell it. It might be a prefix, but pronouns are the thing of the day. So excuse my poetic license there. Information is what information is. It doesn't need other government departments or newspapers or media outlets or mainstream television to turn it into disinformation, malinformation, or misinformation. Misinformation is simply if you got something wrong, so you can discard that. But disinformation is a deliberate act to smear somebody using things, real facts. Malinformation is when you manipulate the facts to go after somebody, and that's what's been happening all around the world. So I'll leave it there, but we need to reclaim this word information for what it is and stop using these dis and mis and mal before it, because it's really making it untrustworthy to even look at the mainstream media right now, because they call everything they don't like disinformation, and they use malinformation to create a new narrative. It's disgusting and it needs to stop. So I'll leave it there, but don't get on board with a misinformation, a disinformation, or a malinformation campaign, because it will come back and bite you in the arse. And if you want to ask who got bitten in the arse the most, it was the Democrat Party of the United States, who are probably the most corrupt thing we've seen since the Second World War, or Stalin and Mao. So take it from the results and take it from the fact that they were pushing the threat to democracy thing, which they knew wasn't true. They knew Donald Trump was no threat to democracy, and that's the sad bit, because a lot of people in America really believed he was, because they believed the media propaganda. But most didn't. Most went outside and found out on their own, and that's why he won so spectacularly. So keep that in mind next time you hear the word disinformation or misinformation or malinformation. It means that the government or the person who's trying to do something with that information is not being truthful with you. I'll leave it there. Keep your eye out. Be vigilant, and I'll speak to you soon.